What is up, guys? Keon Pie here. Frost Queen has just dropped as a new legendary cookie in Cookie Run Kingdom, so I want to make this video to give my thoughts on this cookie, a quick breakdown of this cookie, as well as do a couple of small, light gameplay tests at a low level to kind of showcase this cookie's strengths and weaknesses. So without further ado, let's get on with the video. Alright, to begin, if you guys are unaware of what Frost Queen does, she is a legendary magic cookie that deals like frost damage with her skill. She shoots out a wave of ice that freezes enemies for 2 seconds and deals damage. And the cookies that are frozen, their skill cooldown timers are frozen as well too. So let's say everybody uses their skill and then Frost Queen freezes them. Their skills will be on cooldown, but it shouldn't really matter if you freeze them before or after, because obviously if you freeze them before they use skills, their skills are not being put on cooldown either. But if they do get frozen after their freeze ends, they take a massive chunk of damage. You'll see here the single hit damage is 99.2 at level 35, and the freeze damage at level 35 is 396.7% of attack. The freeze is AoE and has a very long range, so it is a very good character for PvE and PvP purposes. It could definitely shake up the PvP meta, but where most people will probably end up running Sea Fairy and Frost Queen. So if you have both of them, it's not going to be that big of a deal. So as you can kind of see, Sea Fairy and Frost Queen have very similar kits where they both deal lots of damage and they also do CC. Sea Fairy does stun for 3 seconds while Frost Queen only freezes for 2 seconds. But you can see here that Sea Fairy's cooldown is 17 seconds and Frost Queen's cooldown is 18 seconds, which will also affect the amount of cooldown they're going to need for their starting cooldown. You'll see here by this spreadsheet by Loser Squad, we'll link this down in the description below, for an 18-second starter cooldown such as Frost Queen. They are going to have a 5-second starting cooldown, and then if you get all the way up to 16.7% cooldown without Jelly Watch, because Jelly Watch is not affecting starting cooldown, you can go down to 4 seconds. However, if you go and see at Sea Fairy over here, Sea Fairy only needs 11.8% cooldown to get down to 4 seconds starting cooldown as well too. So in regards to toppings, if you guys do want to get that starting cooldown down to 4 seconds, you are going to have a massive 16.7 second cooldown reduction to begin with. I personally don't know if that's necessarily worth it, especially if you're running with Sea Fairy, because if you have everybody at 4 second cooldown timing, Frost Queen is going to go anywhere in between 4 seconds to 5-6 seconds, depending on how many people you have going in front of her of the skill timing. You might want to just go with kind of like a raspberry with damage resist or some sort of almond plus raspberry. It depends on anything that you want to do. But if you can possibly get up to 16.7, maybe go for it with a mixture of raspberry and swift chocolates. But yeah, I would probably just recommend full raspberry with a lot of damage resist, depending on what your team comp is and where you want your starting cooldown to be. Because you also don't want your enemy to kind of go first and stun you out. At the very least, you kind of want to go at the same time. So once again, TLDR, if you have Sea Fairy, maybe make Sea Fairy 4 second and keep your Frost Queen at 5 seconds. So in regards to toppings, if you guys do want to get that starting cooldown down to 4 seconds, you are going to have a massive 16.7 second cooldown reduction to begin with. I personally don't know if that's necessarily worth it, especially if you're running with Sea Fairy, because if you have everybody at 4 second cooldown timing, Frost Queen is going to go anywhere in between 4 seconds to 5-6 seconds, depending on how many people you have going in front of her of the skill timing. You might want to just go with kind of like a raspberry with damage resist or some sort of almond plus raspberry. It depends on anything that you want to do. But if you can possibly get up to 16.7, maybe go for it with a mixture of raspberry and swift chocolates. But yeah, I would probably just recommend full raspberry with a lot of damage resist, depending on what your team comp is and where you want your starting cooldown to be. Because you also don't want your enemy to kind of go first and stun you out. At the very least, you kind of want to go at the same time. So once again, TLDR, if you have Sea Fairy, maybe make Sea Fairy 4 second and keep your Frost Queen at 5 seconds. One other thing you're going to want to take into consideration when putting toppings on Frost Queen, especially if you're going to be pairing it with Sea Fairy, is going to be the regular cooldown timing. I'm just going to keep this quick and simple. If you have a Frost Queen that starts at 5 seconds and a Sea Fairy that starts at 4 seconds, you'll have this timing at the bare minimum be at 12.1 if you want to reach the next one. Even if you don't reach the next one and you're still at 11.8, you'll have 11.2. So if you add these two together, you'll get 2 of your Sea Fairy skills off somewhere around, let's say, like 15.1 seconds. However, if you put 0% cooldown on your Frost Queen and just went purely for damage resist as well as maybe crit or attack, you'd be having both your skills go off at maybe about 18.4 seconds. The reason why I say maybe is because sometimes people get stunned, or maybe Frost Queen will freeze somebody and it'll delay it. So TLDR, maybe you want to consider giving her a little bit of cooldown so that you can end up lining up the 3-second stun chained into Frost Queen's 2-second stun. So to begin with, for the little gameplay test, we're going to take a level 35 Frost Queen 0-star versus a level 35 0-star Sea Fairy. Both of them have no toppings on them, as you can kind of see here, and they both have level 35 skill. We are going to be running on the first test a Jelly Watch, as well as Revival Feather and OP Scroll for both of them. You can see the other opposing one has a lot lower levels on their treasures, so we'll maybe run another test without treasures if it does seem to have a significant influence onto the battle. So the starting cooldown is about the same, but wow, that Frost Queen just absolutely destroyed that Sea Fairy for some reason. I have no idea exactly what happened there, but I guess it's that extra bonus damage that happens when the freeze ends. So wow, it could possibly be that Frost Queen is just quite a bit stronger. I want to run that one more time though, just to be able to see that stun, because it looked like Frost Queen didn't really get stunned there. Just remember also the starting timer of the skill has nothing to do with it with Jelly Watch, because Jelly Watch does not affect starting skill timer. And it looked like both of them only use their skill one time. Let's run it again one more time. But I definitely didn't see this coming out of Frost Queen. Could explain as to why I've been kind of getting beat up in top 200 PvP against Frost Queen. Wow, that is very impressive. Frost Queen doesn't even die against the Sea Fairy. Naked Sea Fairy versus naked Frost Queen. So I went back and reviewed the footage as well as ran this a couple more times, and I definitely did notice that Frost Queen actually doesn't get stunned by Sea Fairy, despite Sea Fairy having a 3-second stun if both their skills cast at the same exact time. This could be actually very huge for PvP. As you saw there, she didn't get stunned the first time, but the second time she does, because she's not in her skill animation. If you guys have ever run Sea Fairy versus Sea Fairy, if both their skills go off, they both end up getting stunned, but Frost Queen seems to have some sort of immunity. We'll look more into that later, but that is a very, very big thing if that is the case. So I couldn't really find a resource online that showed the stat comparison between the two characters, but you'll see here this level 35 naked Frost Queen has 32,000 HP, 12k attack, 8k defense, and 13% crit rate. And I will show you real quick the Sea Fairy that we fought against in the solo PvP. It has 23,500 HP, 8,800 attack, 8,000 defense, and 11% crit. A lot of this does have to do with difference in kingdoms, where this account's kingdom is a little bit more casual, while this account here, its kingdom is a lot more like juiced and fine-tuned. But the stat difference here probably isn't completely due to just the landmarks and building levels and lab research, but it definitely could be the case. We'll try to find a resource online that does have a better comparison, but I did a couple minutes worth of research on Google and I couldn't find a good Wikipedia, but we'll see. This difference in stats could definitely be the reason as to why that Frost Queen absolutely destroyed the Sea Fairy, because the Frost Queen has essentially like 50% more HP, or at least 9,000 more HP compared to the Sea Fairy, and that's possibly why it died a lot faster, as well as 50% more attack going down as well. Alright, I kind of just want to go and see how she interacts with PvE mobs, so we're just going to go take her into the Dark World 528, where you can get Vampire Soul Stones. The recommended power level is 78,800, and you can see she only has 30,000, and without a frontline tank like Cotton Cookie could technically have with their sheeps, I'm going to put PV on this team, where PV will purely just be healing to try to keep her alive, while we can go and see how her freeze and stun interacts with monsters as well as with bosses. And we'll turn this to auto and 1.5 times speed. Definitely would be good to have, oh wow, cooldown on her, because her starting cooldown is a little bit slow. Does she even need PV for this? Because, maybe she does. That damage is pretty nice, especially as you guys saw in PvP. She kind of did a lot of damage after that ice broke. And the fact that she ends up stalling cooldown timers is pretty big because her freeze time is for 2 seconds. I really do wish I had Frost Queen on my account, but eventually we'll have it. This is our alternate account once again. So I'm definitely feeling that Frost Queen envy because that animation for that ice wave is so beautiful and so cool looking in my opinion. He does seem a little bit on the squishy side as we saw in the PvP, but you know, Frost Queen's not meant to be a frontliner anyways. So what do you expect? Either way, I think this cookie is very cool in PvE for sure. Has lots of damage, has the CC, has awesome animations to make grinding stages kind of fun too. Alright, we're just gonna do a really quick comparison run of, I'm just gonna do a really quick run to go and see if Frost Queen's skill damage is dealing the extra damage at the end of the freeze explosion, despite not freezing the guild boss. So aka I'm seeing if targets do need to be frozen to be able to do that extra damage. We're just having Dark Chocolate here kind of be a frontliner as well as Liko here to do the damage. That's 4,600 damage there. And I guess because it wasn't frozen, it doesn't do the extra damage. It's actually kind of weak. So all in all, I think Sea Fairy does excellent in PvE and PvP and will definitely shake up the meta, at least be a replacement for those that don't get Sea Fairy, if not better than Sea Fairy, but at least in the guild boss form, if you guys are going to be running Frost Queen, I think she's going to be an absolutely horrendous one. Sea Fairy is kind of suitable. Obviously, there's better guild boss characters like Vampire, Poison Mushroom, Sorbet Shark, things like that. But the fact that Frost Queen cannot freeze enemies or freeze the guild boss and deal that extra second wave explosion damage kind of definitely does stink. It's obviously a given, but everybody should do their best to fill out all of the Nether Gacha events, as well as if you are going to try to buy some of the lighter packs to be able to get her. Just note that they will probably end up increasing the quantity count to be able to buy some of these packs, so don't feel like you need to rush it and just go absolutely crazy buying everything that does have the frost crystals. Try to be a little bit patient, as it's not absolutely necessary in my opinion to have Frost Queen. There's still a lot of people in the top 200 PvP that don't have Frost Queen because they're not wailing out of their mind. So the PvP team you have probably will be sufficient, but yeah, once again, just definitely do all the events as much as you can, as fast as you can. Try to unlock her. But also, if you guys didn't know, there's a very low chance that free-to-plays will be able to build up the entire pity. So if you see here on the bottom left of this Frost Crystal Gacha summon, you'll see it says Frost Queen Cookie guaranteed per 250 legendary draws. If this is anywhere similar to the Hollyberry one, people have reported as free-to-plays you could not get Hollyberry hard pity. However, it left you a little bit off, so you had to spend a little bit of money to guarantee that pity if you did the entirety of the event. So sadly, free-to-plays will not be able to guarantee it, but if you do spend a little bit of money and do all of the event, you should be able to guarantee at least one Frost Queen. And if you go and get stars, it's not a huge deal. It gives you a small percentage increase, about 5% every star you get. Obviously, in the high tier PvP, it is going to matter, but for most players, it shouldn't really matter. The probability on this is also 0.3% to be able to get it. You should maybe be able to get a Frost Queen just by doing the event naturally without hitting pity, but we'll see. Best of luck to everybody who is going to be trying to get her. Alright, that's going to be all for this video. Hopefully it was helpful in you learning about Frost Queen. Make sure you guys leave a like, comment down below if you guys ended up getting Frost Queen, as well as your thoughts on her. If you guys are also in Hollybear's server and looking for a top ranked guild, we are currently ranked 33 with only 28 guild members. We're trying to really push for top 30. Once again, we used to be top 25 until some of our members went inactive, especially with this new update where we're going to be getting more crystals based on how many trophies your guild does have. Make sure you guys subscribe for more Cookie Run content. Make sure you guys follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/KeylinePie for Cookie Run content, as well as other gacha game content. Make sure you guys join our Discord to be part of our Cookie Run community. And make sure you also follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace!